There was a moment in that courtroom today that we were just talking about when E. Jean Carroll, who was on the stand, with Donald Trump staring her down, talked about how the idea of suing him came up. Apparently, it all started with a conversation that she had at a party with someone who should be quite familiar to our audience, the prominent conservative attorney, George Conway, who, as I like to remind everyone, was once in the running to be Trump's Solicitor General, now turned to fierce critics. Safe to say that if he's back in the White House, you won't be in the running for that job. George, but great to have you back. I mean, this is a fascinating part of this for people, who there's so much happening here. It's hard to pay attention, but you actually helped get the ball rolling on this case. Can you just walk me through how that happened?
Yeah, I mean, what happened is that I met Jean Carroll by chance within a couple of weeks of her article coming out, the article at New York Magazine that started all of this. And I had written a piece in the Washington Post the weekend right after that story hit, basically saying, well, Republicans, if you believe Juanita Broaddrick, the woman who made a rape accusation against Bill Clinton, well, you damn well better believe Jean Carroll because she has contemporaneous witnesses. She had two witnesses who ultimately testified for her at the trial about how she, in 1996, told them about what had happened at the Bergdorf Goodman store. And it just so happened I ran into Jean Carroll at this party. And she came up to me. I said hello. She said, I think she thanked me for the op-ed piece that I had written. And then somehow the topic came like, some people are saying I should sue. I don't know I don't know. Does that make any sense to you? And immediately, it popped into my head. Well, you've got a pretty good defamation claim here. The statute of limitations on the rape has run. But there's no question that if the rape happened and it seems like you have corroborating evidence, it did. Well, he's liable to you because he's called you a liar. And then I said, I think I know the right lawyer for you. And the next day I contacted my good friend Robbie Kaplan and told her that, Jean Carroll, I don't know, I'm sure you've read about this in the paper. She may be interested in bringing a lawsuit. This might be something you might be interested in. And that's how it all got started.
And of course, that is still her attorney who was there in the courtroom with her
Absolutely.
today.
She's a marvelous lawyer. Absolutely spectacular.
What were your main takeaways from what happened today in that room?
Well, I think it's classic Donald Trump. I think the Judge Kaplan, who is really one of the smartest federal judges in the country and one of the toughest, but fair, he had it exactly right when he said that, I guess you can't control yourself. He said that to Donald Trump. Donald Trump cannot control himself. And I think this is an important point. This case is actually a nice microcosm of Trump's psychological condition. I think it's important that we start talking about that because all of the things that you hear criticism of Donald Trump for, the misogyny, the racism, the authoritarianism, the criminality, the conduct of Mar-a-Lago, all of these things stem from his deep psychological disorders. He is a narcissistic sociopath, and he behaved like one in court. And the jury is getting to see that up close and personal. And you saw it up close and personally in that clip of the town hall where Donald Trump is continually just lie after lie after lie before you can even say stop. And three lies about Jean Carroll just in those clips. One is he said that he never met her. Well, there was a photograph of them meeting back in the 90s. It was actually in the original New York Magazine article. The second is he's claiming that, she's not my type, as though she wasn't good looking enough for him. Well, at his deposition, he identified the picture of this beautiful woman in that same photograph who was E. Jean Carroll. He said, that's Marla Maples, my second wife. And then the third thing he says is like, the jury found that I didn't rape her. That's not true. The jury found that he penetrated her with his hands, and that's not technically rape under New York law, but as the judge has said 3 times in written opinions since, including last week, Donald Trump raped Jean Carroll by any reasonable definition of that word in the colloquial sense.
Yeah, they said liable.
So he's just a pathological liar, and I think that his self-defeating antics in court, that might work on the campaign trail, but it's not going to work in a courtroom.
So you think it hurts him to be in there because he had kind of when we interviewed him at that town hall, I asked if he regretted not testifying because he had considered it and his attorneys urged him not to. Now he's making clear he's going to show up every day as much as he can to this, and you don't think it helps him?
No, it doesn't. I mean, and it shows his remarkable cowardice. Okay, he's fine to make snarky comments and sotto voce comments in front of the jury and say, this is a witch hunt and, oh, she's lying. It's like, okay, well, dude, you had the opportunity to actually face that first jury and tell them that she was lying, and you chickened out. He, like most bullies, he's a coward. And he's just, he's taking the coward's way out, and he's trying to play the victim. He's trying to get the judge to throw him out and play the victim because he's too scared to testify, because he's a liar.
Well, he said in court today that he would love if the judge did. We'll see what happens here going forward. A lot more to talk about. George Conway, thank you for joining tonight.